Hey, Shalom, Shalom. When to start off souls by giving no praise to Yahweh Hashem, El Shaddai, Hashem, Kakadash, to belong to the apostles of GMS and honestly, brothers doing the work and truth, what sincerity. Saw this, what do you call it? This headline, not headline, but this media message from RT on the Twitter sphere. Basis too soon. 2020 needs to save aliens for the season finale, right? And I like that, because an alien, which alien means basically, for instance, you hear Trump talk about Mexicans as illegal aliens, right? Alien basically is something that's not, it's foreign, basically, right? So you might see someone do something, you'd be like, yo, that's, it's a bit alien to me, right? It's basically saying it's not something that I know or do. It's strange, right? It's strange, foreign to you, right? And basically, foreigners are gonna be coming at the season finale of this man's kingdom. Right now, we hope it to be 2020. We hope. We don't know. We've been hoping. Hey, as everyone will say, first coming. You're like, yeah, it's gonna be this year, and we've been hoping it'll be soon for the longest time, and we hope, right? We hope that it's soon, but an alien invasion is gonna come in as the season finale by way of the chariots, by way of the of the the Mosai's vehicles. Right, this is Revelation 1:7. Right, it says, behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him. Right, because it's going to be televised. Right, Yahushua's return is going to be televised. The revolution will be televised. Right, it says, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall well because of him. Even so, Amen. Right. So what are these clouds talking about, right? Because in the scriptures you have this notion of clouds. It's like, what does that actually mean, right? Well, in the scriptures, clouds can refer to clouds, but in this instance, it's referring to the chariots of the Most High. I'll give you an example. This is 1 Thessalonians 4:17, right, which says this. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we be, so shall we ever be with the Lord. Right now, this isn't talking about people just like chilling in the cumulonimbus cloud, right? Cumulonimbus clouds, if I'm remembering correctly, those are the big rain clouds, right? The big, those ones you see, like, oh, fuck, it's gonna rain today, right? If I'm remembering my geography correctly, right? But it says, then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds. Right, so those that die first. Right, in fact, let me read that. This is 1 Thessalonians 4:16. So for the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, and with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of the Most High, and the dead in Yahushua shall rise first. Right, so those that die in this truth, right, they will be raised up first, and with Yahushua, right. So then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the air, right? How's that gonna happen? Right, we're gonna get extracted, right? During the time of this destruction, we're gonna get extracted, beamed up into them ships, them chariots, right? Because that's part of the season finale, right? Is the nukes flying and destroying America, nukes flying here, there, everywhere, right? And also the deliverance of the children of Israel, and also the chariots are going to be getting busy, right? So that is what it means by a cloud in this particular context, right? It's talking about the chariots of the Most High, right? As I said, let me grab this. What will I? This is Luke 12:49. It says, I am come to send fire on earth, and what will life already be kindled? Right? And how is that going to happen? That's going to happen by way of these ships, right? You read that also in the book of Second Ezra 13, right? We jump to the point. Right, so I'll start from 6, I'll read into it. Right, it says, but I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew upon it. Right, so the chariot that Ezra saw was a massive chariot. He assumed, he thought it was, it was as large as a mountain, basically, right? It says, but I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. Right, so basically these people they're gonna try to fight the Lord, right? They ain't gonna want to, but the Lord's gonna put the spirit in them to do so, right? It says, and lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand nor held sword, nor any instrument of war. So now, if you can imagine ID4, where you had the chariots and you had, Will Smith and his characters or whatever, what have you, flying in their puny fighter jets, trying to shoot at the at the chariots, right? But in Hollywood that works. But this isn't Hollywood, Esau. Right? This isn't Hollywood. You different heathen nations, right? This is real life, and hey, we'll read what it says is gonna happen. So it says, he saw the violence of the multitude that came, right? All of the people trying to attack and fight against the Lord. He neither lifted up his hand nor held sword nor any instrument of war, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flame and breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempest. Right, so that's talking about the lasers, right, coming out of the chariots. Right, it says, and they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flame and breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one. So that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude, nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. Right? So Ezra was basically saying he saw all of these people that went and tried to fight against the Lord. You know, another way to imagine it is Thanos, right? Imagine you just see, in that film where basically you had the people that survived, and then just watched everyone just fade away into dust. That's basically what Ezra saw, but it wasn't like half of the people, it was all of the people, right? Here it is, he was just there and he watched everyone just getting burnt out, getting destroyed, right? To the end that he only saw dust and was only able to smell smoke, right? Of course he was afraid. This is the ancient man of the Lord. He was afraid, right? That's why you read further down into Ezra, right? His 16th chapter, it says, "Woe is me, woe is me. Who's gonna deliver me in those times?" Right? Basically, the destruction that Ezra was shown in these couple of chapters. Ezra was like, "Look, man, how are we going to survive?" Right? Because these last days, right? This season finale, it's going out with a bang. Right? It's going out with a bang, right? So this is Luke 21:25 also, right? It says, and they shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars. And we're seeing that right now we're in the middle of the Neowise, not middle, but, we've got the Neowise meteor shower at the moment, right? Neo, because I've not looked into the name, but Neo I know means new, wise. Is it like new wisdoms? Or, what's the meaning of that, right? Because we know that there is a new world order to come. Now Esau thinks that it's going to be his new world order, right? But we know otherwise. You read that in the book of Job, the 20th chapter. It says when he's about to fill his belly, right? When he's about to fulfill his agenda, the Most High is going to come and be like, "Psych, you thought you had it, didn't you? Right? Esau, you ain't got it, man. You just playing to the Most High's tune." Right, so we're seeing the signs and the sun and the moon and the stars, right? And it says, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. See if there's any more mention in that. It says with perplexity, right? When the calamities come, the blinded masses will be perplexed, not knowing from where the calamities came. Right, and a precept there to Isaiah 33:6, right? Which Isaiah 33:6 says this, right? It says, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, right? That's why everyone else, they're thinking of a way out. They think, oh yeah, things are going to get better, right? Which, we hope that they don't, right? But we know that ultimately, if there is a light, if it seems like there's light at the end of the tunnel, that's not light. That's like a maintenance light, right? And the tunnel's going to keep on going, right? Because hey, this kingdom is down, is what do you call it, is deemed for destruction, right? What do you call it? Scriptures talk about. In fact, let me grab that real quick. This is Zechariah 3:8, right? It says this. No, Zechariah. Where is that one? Zephaniah 3:8. Which says this. It says, therefore wait ye upon me. So this first bit here is talking about, us that are in this truth, we're supposed to wait upon the Lord, right? The Lord's going to fight our battle. Scripture says, Jacob, thou worm, right? Because we can't, what a worm's unprotected. If a worm's in the open, right? How can it stop itself getting, taken by a bird, right? To saith the Lord. So hey, we got to wait upon the Lord, right? And that's faith, right? Because our warfare is spiritual, not carnal. You read that in Ephesians the 6th chapter, right? It says, saith the Lord, until the day that I rise up to the prey, right? So, hey, once again, Jacob, thy worm, right? You need someone who's bigger and more powerful than the bird to protect the worm, right? And that's the Most High, right? He's bigger and powerful than Esau and all of these different heathens, right? And all of the the demons and principalities that they pray to, because the Most High is the one that controls those demons and principalities, right? So that's who's going to fight for us and protect us, right? It says, for my determination, right, is to gather the nations, right? And the word determination here is shapat or mashapat, right, which basically means is properly a verdict. So the Lord's verdict, the Lord's judgment, because shapat means judgment. The Lord's judgment, right, is to to basically take these prey, right? Because right now Israel's a prey, but they're gonna be the prey, right? So the Lord's judgment, right, is to gather the nations that I may assemble the kingdoms to pour upon them mine indignation. Right, that's going to be in the valley of Jehoshaphat, right? Yahweh Shaphat. Once again, you got that word in there, Shaphat, which means judgment. Yahweh is the valley of the Most High's, of the valley of Yahweh's judgment, right, which is that Middle East region, right? So to pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured the fire of my jealousy, right? So everything is happening. All the things that are gonna happen for the Lord's judgment, right? So we're seeing the Lord judge, and we're the only ones really happy, right? Let's be real, right? I did a video on reasoning with brothers a couple of weeks ago. Look, we don't see ourselves getting old in this kingdom, right? Which is one of the reasons you have arguments with certain people that want to stay around you, whatever, because you're like, look, man, we're not doing certain things because we know the end goal of this place, and that is it must needs be destroyed, right? So that's what keeps us stable, and that's what keeps us calm, right? However, when we read this in Luke 21:25, it says this, the distress of nations, right? They're perplexed because they don't know what's happening. They don't know what to expect, right? It says, and the sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. Right? Which that makes me think of this particular scripture. This is Jeremiah 30 and verse 6, which says this: ask ye now and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness, right? So basically what Jeremiah was seeing was men so afraid it looked like they were about to give birth. When you're in that level of fear, right? It looked like they were about to give birth, panting, pale, whatever, what have you, right? And I'll carry on. It says, verse 7, it says, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it, right? So the time we're coming into, right, the time is really here now. It's this beginning of Jacob's trouble. And it's only going to get worse, right? It has to get worse before it gets better, right? Because as you see there, it says, but he shall be saved out of it, right? So the elect of the children of Israel are going to be saved from this coming destruction. They're going to be protected, right? This is Isaiah 65 and 13, right? Because there's gonna come food shortages, water shortages, there's just gonna come a lot of death and evil, right? Scriptures talk about for those days of evil, right? The times coming, evil, which evil means a bad time, right? Isaiah 65:13, therefore thus saith the Lord, power, behold, my servant shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servant shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servant shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. Behold, my servant shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrows of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit. Right? And there ain't no deep sayings so that the Lord is going to protect his elect. He's going to feed his elect. He's going to clothe his elect. Give your yarn to his elect. Right? And although, yeah, we might be, feel a certain way because we're in this flesh, right? Ultimately, we're going to be rejoicing because we know at the end of all of these things is the salvation and the kingdom of Israel, right? Which is what we seek, right? It says Hebrews 13:14, all right, which says this. It says, for here we have no continuing city, but we seek one to come, right? So here we can't build it. This is Esau's kingdom. This is the kingdom of our punishment, right? So we seek a kingdom of righteousness. And let me grab this. What you call it? Came out in a show that I did my brother earlier on. Right, let me so 2nd Ezra 8:52, for unto you is paradise opened, and the tree of life is planted. The time to come is prepared, plenteousness is made ready, a city is builded, and rest is allowed. Yea, perfect goodness and wisdom. Right, and that's the thing, it's perfect goodness and wisdom and rest being allowed. Here we can't rest. Micah 2:10, arise and depart, for this is not your rest. So our rest is coming in the next kingdom, right? Wherein things are going to be good, right? Because right now you might get it a little goody, but it ain't good. It's tainted. It's evil, right? You know, easiest example to give. Not I won't say best example, but the easiest example to give is your woman, right? If you weren't the first man to go up in there, well, let me tell you that that's according to the law, that's adultery, right? Well, obviously, we're in this kingdom, so hey, it is what it is. Right? Our standards are simple. If you ask her when you met, if you got a man, she says I haven't got a man, then you can deal with her, right? But we're supposed to be dealing with virgins, man, right? And even if in this kingdom you did get a virgin, guess what? Esau's fucked her brain, right? Ain't nothing you can do about that. You can't unfuck her brain, right? Esau's all up in there, man, right? So anything in this kingdom we get is tainted, man. You might get a house, but it ain't built right, or everything in it is toxic. It's just hell here, man. Right? Verse 53 says the root of evil is sealed up from you, weakness and moth is hid from you, and corruption is fled into hell to be forgotten. Sorrows are passed away, and in the end is showed the treasure of immortality, right? Because in the next life the children of Israel are going to be immortal, whereas in this life, look, man, hey, young men in pain, young men with backache, young men with neck ache, right? Young men limping, right? It says back in Luke 21:27, it says, and then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Right? Once again, going back to the topic of these clouds representing the chariots, right? So what we're seeing here is the same with Revelation 1:7, right? It says, and this it's important to know this understanding, because then you will be deceived if you don't know, right? Because Esau's got a project called Project Bluebeam, right? Which we believe he might, right? Use it to try fake a little something, right? So if he tries to fake a little Cesare Borgia in the sky as a second return, we know what the scriptures say. We know what, first and foremost, Revelation 1:13 onward, about how the Lord actually looked, and we know also with these precepts here how the Lord's going to return, right? So if Esau did try to do something like that, well, we can just look cross-reference scriptures, no, that ain't how he's coming, right? Know that it's Esau's bullshit, right? So this is how the Lord's come. He's going to come in the cloud, i.e. a chariot, right? I.e. an alien invasion. Alien mean foreign, right? And that, that's going to be part of the finale. It's going to be part of the fireworks of this movie, man, right? It says, coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And when these things begin to come to pass, right, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. And I'll read that again, right? And when these things begin to come to pass, right, so we're living through those days right now, things are starting to happen, right? It says, then look up, right, and lift up your heads. Don't be all bowed down, don't be crouched down, right? Be happy. Why? For your redemption draweth nigh. So as always, Lord's will, I was edifying. Till the next time, Shalom.